Hello, welcome to Ghost Prime Transformers Reviews. In this video, we'll be taking a look at Studio Series 86 Deluxe Class Jazz. Now, Jazz appeared in the 1986 movie only briefly. He was on Moonbase 1 with Cliffjumper when they were attacked by Unicron, and seemingly perished, but we know that he did not. He did survive that. Now, this Jazz transforms into a Porsche 935 Turbo, which is interesting because it's been a while since we've actually seen a Porsche depicted in Transformers line, due to them not letting Hasbro have that Porsche design. They did try in the alternators line and failed, which is why we didn't get a Jazz in alternators. And the Classics figure couldn't be a Porsche. It was very close, but they kind of skirted around that design. But this is very close to a Porsche 935 Turbo. And this is actually a really decent depiction of Jazz in his cartoon form. There is a couple liberties they took. He has a different number, and there's also a little less paint. But without any further ado, let's get to the review. All right, taking a look at the packaging here real quick. You have the picture of Jazz here, the 8601. And let's take a look at that close up at that rendering of Jazz. He's got a very bright, vibrant looking visor on there. It's a very cool picture of Jazz. And then you see, of course, the logo there for the movie, Studio Series Autobot Jazz. On the side, you got a close-up of his face. And then the depiction there, same as all the others, 86. On the back, we see Jazz in both of his modes. With a 14, more on that later. And you can see how he looks with his backdrop of Moonbase 1 right there. On the bottom isn't important. In the package, you do get an instruction sheet that clearly depicts how to transform him. And a small catalog on the back with blur and cup. And he does come with his gun, which is molded in white plastic and painted silver. He does have these little pegs on the side, which is interesting because the original Generation 1 had a design that was like that, and they just kind of made that pegs. I thought that was cool. And you get Moonbase 1 as the backdrop, and it could fold out like this. And here's how Jazz looks in it. All right, and taking a look at Jazz himself. Now, he's done it pretty nicely. Not much of a backpack, which is kind of to be expected with just that. Looking real close on that face. He has a very good looking sculpt on his head here. As opposed to some of the other Studio Series, this head sculpt is done very well. Tons of molded in detail, Autobot logo, headlights. Now, there's not a lot of paint on this guy. By comparison, he does have his feet and his shins painted silver, but he doesn't have any of the stripes there. He also has silver paint on the rims and the stripe here. Now, something that is kind of a bummer, he's very hollow right here in his arm, and I think they could have done something different. He is also hollow back here and in the middle of the legs. And this is something that it really is a bummer because a lot of the Studio Series have not been hollow. It doesn't really detract so much from the figure. His arms are the most noticeable. Since his legs are done in black, it doesn't really look that bad. But it is something. Now, he does not come with a shoulder cannon, but he does come with his gun, which you could put in either hand. It's a 5mm peg. All right, let's move on to some comparisons real quick before getting into the articulation and transformation. First, let's see him next to his previous generation's Classics offering, which is I believe this was Reveal the Shield. Now, he does not have the ability to put his doors flayed out like this. This is how they look together. Still quite fond of this mold. I think this looks very cool. There he is with the Generation 1 Jazz. And here he is next to his cartoon counterpart. So as you can see, they really are going with a more cartoon aesthetic here. And the feet are very large, but it kind of matches that cartoon model. A lot of the paintwork does too, but you see the cartoon does have these stripes here where it is missing on the toy, which again is a bummer. Here he is with Wavemate Blur. Here he is with Optimus Prime, the Earthrise version. There he is with the Make Toys Downbeat Premium version. He does give a very downbeat vibe. You can see for the backpack, which is very similar. And also the fact that they both stand on the spoiler there. So it is quite similar to this, which I find very interesting. All right, and moving on to Articulation. He has 360 at the shoulder. His shoulder can move out this way, and because of transformation, he can move up a bit like that. Now he's got a really nice range there. He does have bicep swivel all the way around. He has an elbow of about 90 degrees. He does not have any wrist swivel because his fists go into this little cavity there. He does have 360 at the waist. Does kind of hit the backpack a little bit, but no worries there. He does have thigh swivel right here. It's not 360, about there to there. He has 90 at the knee. If you want to break it a little bit, you could actually get him to do a really, really nice knee bend there. He has a really far ankle tilt. His head is on a ball joint, so it's a little up and down movement and side to side, and of course 360. All right, getting the transformation. First, we're going to remove his gun. You're going to take his fists and move them in like so on either side. So you take his backpack piece here, move this up, undo the doors like this. And then you take, there's a piece under here. And you got to be careful with this, because it is all molded clear plastic. And you want to kind of take, there's a lip right there, you can kind of grab and kind of move that kind of out and just kind of put it straight out back like this, because this is the back windshield. I'm going to pass it and it kind of just lines up like that. So, and this has an interesting piece here so that you actually, when you unhook it like this, this becomes the top of the hood. It actually hooks in these two pegs right there. So what we're going to do is just kind of move this up as much as you can, and that'll push the head through the top at the same time, because there's this mechanism right here. You can see, let's see, I'll move the arm out of the way, kind of get in there. You can see how that's the front part, and that moves. So that has to move. That actually is connected to the head. So you're going to take this little piece here, move that up, and that fills in the top of the front of the car there. So from here, what you're going to do is take his waist, turn it around, then hold the waist like this, and then turn that back around so it opens up this cavity right here, which goes for his arms. So before we do his arms, I'm going to do his legs. So you move the pieces up on either side here for the car, take his legs and accordion them in on up both sides. Take his feet, move them up, take these two pegs here, make sure his feet are straight, and they peg on up one each other like this, top of one each other, and one another. And then what you want to do is, now we want to move his arms. So now you want to take these pieces here where the wheels are, move the top of the shoulder in, take this little peg right there that's going to peg into here. So you want to make sure that's out, move that just like that. Do that for both sides. The shoulder here is on a higher point, so you're going to have to move that up and in, around, like that. Now you have this piece like this. This is on a sort of double joint. I'm going to move that forward and kind of press it in. Take the doors, close them, make sure it's tabbed, and do that for both sides. Very easy transformation. It's definitely not too hard and very, very effective. Just kind of make sure everything's all tabbed and pushed in nicely, which works pretty well. And moving in real close to car mode, let's just take a look at how he appears. He has a beautiful design. Cleans up incredibly nicely. I do like the painted rims. Kind of wish the little peg was painted in the middle. Rolls pretty well. You can see here on the top. But it does have a wider stripe here. He has a 5mm peg there. Black stripe on the windshield. Autobot logo shows up. Really looking good. Now, one of the things that I noticed on this right away is the 14. And we all know Jazz was a number 4. Now, I'm not really sure exactly why it had a number 14, but it may be in reference to his Diaclone, which his Diaclone was actually number 14. He was the 14th Diaclone made, so maybe that's what it's a reference to. It could also mean 1 in Generation 2 and 4 in Generation 1. Who knows? There was also this version of this car originally was a 1. There's a whole bunch of different reasons it could be, but I bet that it's because of the Diaclone. Before we do any comparisons, one thing about his gun can attach on the roof of the car like that, or peg in like that. Ruins the look for me. I don't think that's necessary. Moving on to comparisons, here he is with the cartoon model. As you can see, he is fairly accurate to the cartoon. Here he is next to his Classics incarnation. The milkiness of this white plastic really shows up. And this nice bright white on this. Here he is with Generation 1 Jazz. My little flap won't go down there, I don't know why. And I'm also missing the stickers in the back, so it matches. As you can see, the Martini Porsche logos that are missing from this one, and also the stripe detail that is missing from this one. This would be a great candidate for toy hacks. In fact, I'm getting a second one. I want to do this one up. Speaking of that, here he is next to the original Porsche 935 Turbo that Jazz was originally modeled after. Also, something that's very interesting about this one is the headlights. They're more recessed instead of outward, like on the actual number 4 version. And this one actually looks more like this version here that I found that is also a number 4, or the Martini Racing. Of course, in order to actually have everything, you would have to get licensing from Martini to use the racing stripes and everything. But you could do that with toy hacks. Here he is with Earthrise Wheeljack. Now, ironically enough, these two cars actually raced against each other in the same race, so it's really cool to see them together like this. But overall, just a stunning car. I cannot love this car mode more. This is a beautiful car mode. I love the way the back end actually cleans up. Maybe if they made the feet a little smaller, it could clean up a little bit more, but honestly, the back end was huge on these versions. The lines are just done so wonderful that I can't wait for toy hacks so I could actually do this guy up looking like his toy mode or the real car mode model, because you could really do it with this one. It is a beautiful looking Porsche. So I love this version of Jazz. This is a fantastic depiction of the character. He does need a little bit of work, I think. I think some repo label or toy hacks could actually do him some good. He does have some things that are missing, like the stripes on the legs. And I'm a huge fan of the Martini Racing stripes. Understandable why they couldn't do it and they went with the more cartoon accurate color. The 14 definitely needs to be a 4. So if you happen to see this guy in the stores, I definitely recommend picking him up. And I don't see any reason why you shouldn't if you're collecting any of these lines, because he is fantastic. So please hit that thumbs up button if you like this video. Hit the thumbs down vote button if you have to. Subscribe. See you guys later.